2026, way too early NFL mock draft. Ladies and gentlemen, today this is a fun video. We're going to have some goofs. We're going to have some gaffes, all right? Now, I am watching the GOAT House. Okay, the GOAT House did a 2026 NFL mock draft, way too early mock draft, and we are going to compare his 2025 way too early mock draft. Now, the reason we're doing this is because, ladies and gentlemen, we are already seeing people come out and say, well, the Saints can take Arch Manning or Garrett Nussmeier or Drew Allar next year. But I tell you to hesitate, because every year we do this, and every year we're surprised, right? Heisman favorites are blank, blank, blank. And then no one on that list is even close to being a Heisman favorite. Number one overall pick, blank, blank, blank. Next year, none of them are even drafted. Okay? So let's take a look at who the GOAT House thinks in 2026 the New Orleans Saints will take. Now, I have minimized kind of this thing because I want it to be a surprise. He is giving us the first overall pick. So this hombre right here believes the Saints will be the number one overall pick going into next year, which means the Tyler Shuck experience probably failed.
So I went ahead and used Super Bowl odds to determine the draft order. So this video isn't about where teams are going to finish during the regular season. It's more about getting to know the potential prospects. So the Saints have the worst Super Bowl.
Which is a good way to do it. I mean, if you're like forecasting teams at this point is almost impossible. You don't know who's going to play. So you might as well just rely on Vegas and see who Vegas believes, just market-wise, who right now is the worst teams. This changes dramatically. I mean, if you think about trying to grade the Texans were a 3-win team the year that, or they were supposed to be a 3-win team the year of CJ Stroud's rookie year. The Commanders last year were not supposed to be a good team. Jaden Daniels takes in the NFC title game. So, you know, at this level, like it's an absolute guess. So I wouldn't get too hung up on the actual like draft order, just the players.
Odds, so we put them in that one spot. Garrett Nussmeier, the pick, the LSU quarterback. Couple things here. Arch Manning I did not include because I think most likely he'll go back to school, but he could dominate this year, be the first overall pick, but he barely has any reps. Looks like a tough runner, really strong runner.
Yeah, he's only played 2 games. Like, he's really only played 2 games. The Mannings are not, they never come out, they never leave college early. They play, I think Arch will get 2 years of being a starter at Texas. In today's NIL money universe, why leave early? I mean, Quinn Ewers, Shedeur Sanders, like all those guys, they wish they would have stayed. Like when Quinn Ewers declared, we said on this channel, so he's costing himself $6 million. Like, why would you leave? You know, so I think Arch will stay as well. I think it's smart to not include him.
Obviously, he's got an arm as well, but can make a lot of money going back to school and getting more prepared for the NFL. Yeah. So I think his uncles will have a say. We'll see what he ends up deciding. I think a guy like Dante Moore, who's getting a...
Now, the only reason I think Arch may leave early is if the Saints do have the first overall pick and he is in the consideration of the first overall pick. And that would be like a dream thing. If it's a dream scenario to be the first overall pick by your hometown team, that probably is worth leaving early, but a lot would have to fall in order for that to happen. But just generally, I think Arch will stay.
A lot of hype for Oregon this year. A guy that probably goes back but could declare and be a top pick. But right now, Nussmeier at the top. I think Nussmeier would have been the top pick in this past draft if he came out, but he could be special by going back. And that's
I don't know if he would have beat out Cam Ward, but he probably would have beat out him and Jackson Dart. 1A, 1B.
He did. He could step up a little bit, taking care of the football against the bigger defenses, the better defenses in the bigger games. But he really showed some good signs last year. The movement in the pocket is almost Joe Burrow-like. Is he going to be Joe Burrow with, everything all the traits that Joe Burrow has? No, not saying that, but it felt almost Burrow-like the way he maneuvered in the pocket. He's got a solid arm, makes some flash throws, and yeah, he was a little inconsistent why he went back to school, but you see a lot of upside with him. And it's funny, the Saints actually have Nussmeier's father on the staff, so if they had the first pick, that's something they would probably strongly consider. It would if some of these other top quarterbacks
I kind of go back and forth on this because a lot of people make that connection of like, well, his dad's on the staff, so he'll draft him. I don't know about that. Like it depends on the dynamic. Just speaking, if my son was coming into the NFL, I'd have some real hesitancy about drafting him because then all of a sudden you have to wonder, like, how's that going to be in the locker room? Like, is that going to hurt his development if he is drafted and his father is his coach? Like, how does his teammates view that? Does it actually stifle development of just being a professional? It's like, my dad's there. So do your teammates take you seriously? Can you take the criticism seriously? It's probably better to hear from someone else. I remember when I was growing up, nothing like being drafted in the NFL, but my dad coached me in Little League and stuff. And then at a certain level, like that was over. And that was a decided move because it is, hey, go get coached by somebody else. Go be in a different situation. It is a totally different dynamic and relationship. So I wouldn't blame Garrett at all for not wanting to be drafted by his dad. Now, it is a business. If the Saints say, I don't really give a shit, we're drafting you, it is what it is. But I think there is just as much credence to not draft your son as there is to draft him. So let me know in the comments below, because that's very interesting. Like, if you were a father, would you draft your son? Or do you think it'd be better in the long run for your son to be drafted somewhere else and to go through a non-father-son development thing? And do you think it'd be better for him? So just let me know, because that's kind of, I could absolutely see it both ways. It is very much Disney Channel to be like, oh, the dad drafts the son and the son's playing for it, and that, but it might be more problematic than good.
Or in the class, it would be a tough call. But at the end of the day, no matter if guys like Manning declare or not, it's going to be a much stronger quarterback class. So Nussmeier at the top at this way too early stage. Second over.
So I'll be honest with you. I'm not hugely sold on Garrett Nussmeier at this moment. Like right now, and it's the same with a lot of these guys. I haven't looked at any of this, but like Drew Allar. Like I don't think Drew Allar is very good. Now Drew Allar is the guy who has the prototypical quarterback kind of stuff you want, the traits you want. Can he put it together? He's 1 year away from, oh my God, he put it together. He's on the upswing, all this potential. I will tell you, I just saw his name flash through. A guy I really like is Cade Klubnik. The third, he's got as the third overall. So he's got Francis Mawaiga, offensive tackle for Miami, going to the Giants. Cade Klubnik going to the Browns. Let's listen to Klubnik real quick.
Back from Clemson, and again, I mentioned with the first pick, maybe Manning more likely to go back, but we'll see. He's a guy to keep in mind. Maybe a guy like Dante Moore from Oregon, but Klubnik will have more quarterbacks in this mock. But Klubnik at the end of and the first thing with the Browns is, maybe, Flacco's not going to stick around. Maybe Pickett works out for them.
God, imagine if the Browns go sign Flacco, trade for Pickett, draft Gabriel, trade for Shedeur Sanders, paying Deshaun Watson, turn around, take Cade Klubnik. It's like, good Lord, how many quarterbacks can you have in one team?
Unlikely. Maybe Gabriel, maybe Shedeur works out for them. This upcoming class looks a lot better if they're still picking here. And they'll have 2 first-round picks. It's hard to imagine they pass on a quarterback. So Klubnik at the end of the year, like down the stretch in the playoff game against Texas, he really got going, and that kind of looked like the Klubnik that we expected. He was a big.
Yeah, remember, Cade Klubnik was like the number 1 guy, won the Elite 11 competition, like super top prospect. He was a guy who it's like, hey, he could win the Heisman immediately, and it took a second for the development. But if he develops from last year, I think he'll be your first overall pick.
High-profile recruit, was supposed to be the next Trevor Lawrence, and we saw flashes, but we weren't fully getting that. But again, at the end, I'm sitting there going,
same.
Man, if this guy's in the draft, all of a sudden he feels like a top pick. If he, decides to declare, even though it wasn't even the case like a few weeks before saying that. So he has the ideal size. He's kind of sneaky athletic, got a good build to him, obviously, and a solid arm. He made more and more wild throws and maneuvered around pressure, to stand out more down the stretch in the big games of the season. So I was very much impressed. He feels like he could be a top pick, but again, if we factor in like Manning ends up being in here, Does that push him down a spot? But without Manning, I look at Nussmeier and Klubnik as the top guys. But there's always somebody to break out. Remember, Cam Ward was supposed to be like a...
Yeah, exactly. Like there's going to be breakouts. Now, a big reason why I'm also showing you this video is so that going into the college football season, you can keep your eye on people. Like you can kind of keep your eye on, like, what's this guy doing? What's this guy doing? What's this guy doing? You know, is he rising? Is he falling? Is he in the conversation? This helps you kind of build up your own draft board before we get to the draft process, and it gives you something to look forward to during college football season as well. So we'll go through this really quick. So number 4, defensive tackle Peter Woods from Clemson. Number 5, Jeremiah Love, running back from Notre Dame. That's a big one. Caden Proctor, offensive tackle from Alabama. Caleb Downs, safety from Ohio State. All right, Spencer Fano, offensive tackle from Utah. Never hurts to get a lineman from Utah. Number 9, Anthony Hill Jr., linebacker from Texas. 10, TJ Parker, Clemson, edge. 11, Drew Aller, we already talked about him. Isaiah World, offensive tackle from Oregon. Jeremiah McCoy, Tennessee, cornerback. Carnell Tate, absolute freak of freaking nature from Ohio State. Emil Wagner, Notre Dame, offensive tackle. Lenora Sellers, South Carolina, quarterback. Let's see here. Mateo Ugalele, edge from Oregon. Kenyon Sadiq, Oregon. Danny Dennis Sutton, what a name, edge from Penn State. We got Austin Barber, tackle from Florida. Dylan Thieneman, Oregon. Keldrick Falk, defensive lineman from Auburn. Avion Terrell, Clemson's going to be sweet next year, huh? 25th overall, Reuben Bain Jr., edge from Miami. Harold Perkins Jr., 26th overall from LSU. Jordan Tyson, wide receiver from Arizona State. LT Overton, defensive line from Alabama. Aiden Schuler, safety from Notre Dame. Whit Weeks, linebacker from LSU. Whit Weeks was sweet last year. Nicholas Singleton, running back from Penn State. And then Malik Muhammad, cornerback from Texas. Okay, so another part of this that I wanted to show you is last year's. I should have asked you before I showed the video. So last year, the Goat House had Harold Perkins, first overall to the Panthers. All right, so already it's like, damn, his number 1 overall prediction wasn't even in the draft, right? Gets hurt. Has some stuff going on, stays another year at LSU. Number 2, Will Campbell. Okay, there you go. Now, you know, as you can see with the draft, hit or miss. Number 3, Carson Beck. So now we have the number 1 overall pick and the 3rd overall pick, not even in the draft. Okay, 4th overall, Luther Burden Jr. He falls, but still drafted. Jackson Dart, 5th overall to the Giants. Pretty close, right? Giants go 3rd overall. They end up taking Dart later in the 1st round, but like I said, it's an inexact science. James Pierce, he falls, but he ends up getting drafted in the 1st round as well to the Falcons. Tedero McMillan, almost one off. He had him 7. He goes 8. Will Johnson, he falls. He was projected top 10. He falls, though. Also kind of funny to have the Commanders as the 6th overall team, right? It shows you last year how Vegas, you know, like they had no idea Jaden Daniels was going to be Jaden Daniels. Minnesota, same thing, right? Minnesota wins 14 games. Number 9, Shedeur Sanders. We know how this plays out. Shedeur ends up being drafted in the 5th round. Malachi Starks. Okay, Malachi Starks, great player, but didn't end up in the top 10. Saints 11, Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers, the 7th round pick. All right. Ay caramba. Benjamin Morrison, 12. Denzel Burke, 13. Michael Williams, 14 to the Steelers. Travis Hunter, 15. Travis Hunter ends up going 2nd, your Heisman winner. Kenneth Grant to the Jaguars. Jack Sawyer to the Browns. Mason Graham. Mason Graham goes 5th to the Browns. Evan Stewart, wide receiver from Oregon. No clue who that is. Nick Scourton from A&M. I think he ended up falling to the 2nd round. Emeka Ibuka, Ohio State. Takario Davis, again, no idea who that is. Abdul Carter, your number 3 overall pick, goes 23 in the look ahead. Deonte Walker, Kentucky. He ends up going on day 2 or 3, one of those two, maybe 3. Amarian Hampton. Now, I don't know if you've noticed this. first running back off the board. Ashton Genty has not been on his board yet. So Omarion Hampton is his first running back off. Kelvin Banks Jr., New Orleans Saint, 26th overall. JT Tuamali, who knows, goes edge. Ollie Gordon Jr. Now remember, Ollie Gordon Jr. going into last year was considered the best running back in college. And, he busts up his leg and has down years and whatever. And then, obviously Ashton Genty kind of takes over there. Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. Joshua Gray, Oregon State. Colston Loveland from Michigan. And Danny Stutzman, 32nd, who the Saints get in the 4th or 5th round. So unbelievable stuff from the Saints here. But Tyler Warren, not on the board, right? So it is interesting how much this changes from one year to the next year. Because not only are you predicting their collegiate success, right? With someone like Harold Perkins, you are predicting collegiate success. You are predicting he is going to dominate in college. He is going to be healthy in college and dominate. But you're also predicting how much that translates to the NFL. With someone like Quinn Ewers, he was kind of close. Quinn was okay last year. Granted, he was injured, but he's obviously putting a lot of this into Texas's success. Texas has success, right? Quinn doesn't take the step forward that we thought he would because of injuries or whatever else. But Quinn's game also doesn't translate to the NFL, right? Carson Beck's 3rd overall. Carson Beck wasn't great last year. So you get the college success wrong, messes up the draft, messes up the order, and whatnot. So it is fun to look at, but this is a gentle reminder that things change big time. Cam Ward, not even in the first round. So, this happens, but his 1st overall pick, his 3rd overall pick, and 1st overall pick, 3rd overall pick, not even in the draft, and who was the 1st overall pick wasn't even predicted to be in the 1st round. So if we go back to this video, who in this video will not even be in the draft? Which quarterbacks? Will it be Nussmeier? Will it be Klubnik? Will it be, who else was in here? Allar? Will it be Sellers? Who's not even going to be available? Conversely, who in college is going to be a top 5 pick who's not even on this list, right? So when you're saying, well, if Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler sucks for the Saints, who really cares? Because we can draft blank, blank, blank. Just remember that same conversation last year was, well, who cares if Jaden Daniels sucks because we can draft Carson Beck? Who cares if Bo Nix sucks because if we don't win a game, we can draft Harold Perkins Jr., right? Who cares if Derek Carr and Dennis Allen and all of them fall apart because we can draft Quinn Ewers 11th overall. All right, fun stuff here. It's always good to look back and it's always good to look forward. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, to enjoy the now. They call it the present because it's a gift. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video.